the O2 messaging service. The person you are calling is unable to take your call. Please leave your message after the tone.
Hi Angie, it's Julie. Just ringing to check that you and Bonnie are okay. Give me a call on my mobile or text me if you need anything and I'll give you a call back.
At Skegness Academy, they have a list of morning calls. And if a parent's phone rings out and the child isn't engaging online, then it's an assignment for former police officer Andy Hickenbottom. This tourist location on the eastern edge of England has suffered badly from the pandemic. The lights have been off and the shutters down too long. The school and people like Andy want to make sure that their pupils' futures aren't another casualty to the virus. Andy is one of the Trust's 8 education welfare officers in Skegness. His task is to get eyes on the children, in some cases just to make sure they can access online learning.
We are providing the same amount of lessons per day now in lockdown as we were if the child was in school. You know, it's whether that child really wants to engage with it and whether parents can be bothered to do it as well. Good morning, Bonnie. How are you? Fed up?
Fed up.
Right, OK. Let's see if we can fix it anyway. All you have to do is click join on that right-hand side and then it should take you straight into that lesson, OK? You may have to wait in the lobby to start off with, but then as soon as the class starts, you'll be invited in. Your next lesson starts at 11 o'clock and you've got science.
I like science.
Good, that's all right then.
Apart from the Bunsen burners, I don't like them.
You don't like experiments?
Bonnie tells me lockdown has been a challenge.
I just get really, really stressed and stuff. Bored and I want to go to school and stuff, but you can't. In one of my drawers, I've got loads of like stress boards and stuff. So obviously I go and play with them or go on my phone or tablet or whatever.
That helps, does it?
Yeah.
The local primary school hasn't been able to get hold of parent of 2 Charlotte Danskin, and for several minutes it looks like no one's home. But then Charlotte comes out with daughters Rihanna and Adele.
I've come round to make sure that you two are OK, number one. And number two, Mum, I don't think school has been able to contact you at all, have they?
No, I've only just got my phone back working.
Brilliant. OK. Is it the same number?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've seen all the emails and that, but obviously I ain't got Wi-Fi at the minute.
OK. Right, we'll see if we can do something about that.
Did you say one of your families died from COVID?
Oh, yeah, Nan.
Nan? Oh, I'm so sorry.
My granddad's in hospital. Oh, he's been there today, so...
Oh, my word.
Right, and then my other niece is her mama. She passed away with it, so it's not going very well for us at the minute.
No, it's not. It's been awful, hasn't it?
I can understand why you'd be frightened about taking the kids to school.
Yeah, I'd rather keep them at home, and they've learnt a lot, to be fair.
What do you think about not going to school at the moment?
I just love my school and I can't go to school.
Oh.
In the virus.
So you're missing it?
Yeah.
I am trying my best, but obviously with no Wi-Fi and that, I'll do my own stuff with them.
Yeah.
So, but we are going to get some learning packs sent home.
Yeah. So you don't have Wi-Fi at the moment?
No, we don't at the minute now.
Is that because it's expensive, basically?
Yeah, a lot of expenses. I had it, but obviously I didn't pay it, so obviously, yeah.
So
I'm a single parent, so...
It got cut off, basically.
Yeah.
And what about feeding the kids? I mean,
No, we feed the kids absolutely fine. Obviously we get help from the school, from like the vouchers and stuff like that, but yeah, they get fed.
Wayne Norrie is Chief Executive of Greenwood Academies Trust. So you feel there aren't any kids in your school at the moment going hungry?
I can't guarantee that, and I would love to sit here and say to you, not. We're doing our very best at the moment. I think the community of Skegness have been fantastic, but I think they've been severely hit by tourism is a huge employer, and the summer was a very difficult time for many of our families.
Like many resort towns, Skegness has a transient community, and after Florida, it has the highest density of caravans in the world. Around a quarter of the children who attend Skegness Academy live in caravans. And at this time of year, when the caravan parks close, they sometimes go missing from education. Tell me about this child then. 2 children, both at my primary schools in Ingermells. They disappeared. After a couple of days of no contact, I obviously did the home visit. Found out that the caravan was actually rented out to holidaymakers, and they disappeared without a forwarding address. What can you do to try and track them down? We can report it to, well, we have to report it to the county council. They can make follow-up inquiries. Obviously, if they're claiming benefits, they'll have to claim them to a new address. Yeah. If they go on roll at another school, then we're notified straight away as well. Yeah. But in the meantime, it's to try and check with the caravan site owners to see whether
They've left a forwarding address for them, and with neighbours, see if they know where they've gone to as well.
Would you say children missing in education has become more of a problem in the pandemic?
Harder to locate, yes, and harder to make the inquiries as well.
Todd Johnson is headmaster of Skegness Academy.
Children are not signing into lessons, that's flagged immediately, and we have that separate team headed up by the EWOs who are keeping an eye on children, and if we don't get a response, then we go out and check they're okay.
Because of the transient nature of their accommodation, I imagine, though, that some of these kids, maybe a small proportion of them, but they do go off the radar.
Sadly, it's inevitable that contact is lost. Never through the school failing to update information. What often happens is that situations and circumstances happen where families may move or be moved, and I am sure that letting the school know is not a first priority, and I can understand that.
Andy later finds out the family has moved 100 miles away to Barnsley, and so far only one of the children is enrolled back at school. Next stop, Jaden, who needs a laptop.
Right, you've got no problem accessing Microsoft Teams. You know your password and your login. Excellent.
The Year 9 pupil recently moved from a caravan park to temporary accommodation in a B&B. How have you been coping with your lessons? Because you've just got the laptop, so what were you doing before that?
I've been on my phone for like a few weeks, trying to do it through Word and Teams.
Doing your lessons and writing and stuff on your phone as well?
Yeah, typing it.
How was that?
Difficult, as like writing loads and it's like a small keyboard.
What's it like living in a hotel?
Difficult because like I don't have my own space, and like my desk is in the living room, so the distractions with my mum watching TV and my sister, it's been very hard trying to concentrate on the teacher and what they're trying to say.
Are you worried about your kind of school development, your learning in this period?
Yes.
Yeah. What worries you?
Not reaching my expected grades at the end of GCSEs and not being able to get the job I dream of.
What do you want to do?
I want to either become a teacher or go down the medical route, like I'm like a doctor or something.
So you've got good ambitions, but you think this could limit your chances of being able to do that?
Because some lessons, some teachers not able to teach as much because of the resources we're limited to.
Do you feel that this is damaging your education?
Yes.
We've got 6 bays set up.
Staff at Skegness Academy want to make sure that doesn't happen. They've got COVID testing up and ready in the sports hall. The school's open to vulnerable kids and those of key workers, and some teachers have even set up a voluntary salary reduction scheme, so some of their wages go to helping the children.
Our ambition for every single child who comes to this academy has not changed. The reason that my teaching staff and my classroom support staff are signing on to 5 lessons as a minimum a day and delivering the same content is because we can't let what's happened now define these young people in the future.
You're spending all day basically just going around knocking on doors.
Yes, I am, yeah.
And what are you looking out for?
I'm looking out for signs of domestic abuse. I'm looking out for signs of safeguarding concerns, which normally relate to neglect or drug misuse, things like that.
Is there a big drug problem here?
Yeah, quite large actually. I think we've got about 6 county lines gangs currently working in this area.
Have you had incidents of the kids involved in that from the school?
I'm afraid we have, yeah. Just before Christmas we had one of our students arrested.
COVID is likely to cast a long shadow over Skegness. Seaside towns already in slow decline are now in economic freefall. A study by Southampton University found that Skegness was in the top 5 places most likely to be impacted by the pandemic. And that is because it has a high proportion of industries that have been shut down by the lockdown, most notably tourism, on which so many families depend. While the local school is counting the cost in increased demand for free school meals and more children at risk, local businesses are worried about the economic legacy they'll leave their children. Generations of Sid's families traded in Skegness scrap since 1884, but when the shutters came down, the bins were suddenly empty. Demand for his business plummeted.
We look after the trade waste in the area. All the, the pubs, the venues, the theatres, the holiday camps, the amusement parks, the caravan parks. We do everything. I mean, we've had financial crashes, we've had snow, hail, rain, and I'm sure my father and grandfather had wars, but We've never woke up on a Monday morning to absolutely nothing, and that's what happened when COVID first hit. Absolutely nothing. No money, no post, nothing. It just like turning the tap off.
The tap could be turned back on with the help of the government's Towns Fund, aimed to kickstart regeneration projects around the country, and Skegness is hoping for a slice.
Coastal resorts in general, and this area particularly, does have quite high levels of deprivation, and that's why the time bids are going to be really important. We've got some really encouraging skills bids that go in there for a new college that gives aspiration to children. And if there is one positive that's come out of this whole thing, is that people are now realising just how important the visitor economy and the hospitality sector is, and there are real careers to be had here. We're a top 3 employer in the whole country, and hopefully that will give aspirations to children to grow.
How to make sure lives don't end up on the scrap heap. That's the goal of Skegness Academy and people like former police officer Andy.
It's just like what I used to do anyway, which is knocking on doors, talking to people. I'm dealing with the same families that I used to deal with, back in my job.
Yeah. Now you're dealing with their kids.
And now I'm dealing with the kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the education welfare side is legal as well.
Do they ever go, "Oh, you're the cop that arrested me"?
Yeah, I've had that quite a few times. Yeah.
That's tricky.
Not always pleasant, no. No.
But you're here to try and help their kids. And how does that feel?
For me, it's superb because it's a complete role reversal, isn't it? Before it was more of the punishment, but now I'm trying to do what I do just to get the kids an education. It's not just about education, though. You've seen over the last couple of days that it's about their welfare. It's about whether they're accessing the free school meal vouchers, making sure that their home conditions are good. You see my list of home visits yesterday and today. I'm probably doing about 20 per day. So, that's an awful lot of children that aren't accessing their education or not accessing school when they've got that place.
It's all linked. The survival of Skegness, the aspirations of its children. For some, their best chances of achieving them in these troubled times is the Lifeline being cast out from their school. Jason Farrell, Sky News.